Hi, I'm Christian.
And I'm Angela, and we are married
And bored. Hey, everybody.
Welcome back.
Welcome to episode 2, Married and Bored Podcast. This is Christian.
I'm Angela.
We're excited that you're listening this week.
We've got lots in store for this special Halloween-themed episode.
Yeah, 'tis the season.
Get you in the mood.
For all the candy and spooky stuff. Angela, what we wanted to do in this podcast, you and I have talked about it for a while, is just talk about a game each week.
Yes. So last time was our introduction episode. We explained a little bit of background about ourselves, about games and ourselves. And now we want to jump into what we hope is our format moving forward.
Yeah, and what should we do to get that going?
So let's start out, before we get into our main segment, with kind of like a what's up this episode in board games or relating to board games. And I'll have you start us off, Christian.
Yeah, sure. What's up? What's up with me?
What is up with you, Christian?
So much stuff. Like many of you, I have been waiting for the Marvel Champions card game, the new LCG from Fantasy Flight for a while now. It was announced this summer at Gen Con. I was super excited at that time. I pre-ordered it, and it was supposed to come out November 1st.
He's been patient, you guys.
I have. Not internally, but externally, I've kept my cool.
Much patience.
Yeah, but something happened this week, and my patience kind of wore thin, or it turned to more excitement.
Yes, it was a board gaming miracle.
I got notification that my pre-order had shipped early, a whole week early, and I was very pumped that happened.
Yay!
And so we have played it a couple times.
We have.
And
how would you describe it?
Yeah, it's super fun, super challenging. The card art is super fantastic.
I see a theme here as a lot of supers.
Yeah, well, I mean, for a superhero game,
oh,
you have
to... But shh.
I felt like it was appropriate.
Okay, well, that's good. I think, to be fair, we probably should stop with the descriptions there, because in the future episodes of Married and Bored podcast, there will probably be an episode about this game.
Yeah, this is definitely one that we want to do. It kind of checks all the boxes for us. Co-op, it's a card game. I think we work well or play card games well.
Yeah.
And it's just really, it's Marvel. It's super fun.
So be on the lookout for a future episode completely devoted to Marvel Champions. However, for now, do you want to just tell them about the characters in the core set, the expansions that are coming out?
Yeah, I mean, the characters in the core set are pretty cool. You have Captain Marvel, you have Spider-Man, Black Panther, Iron Man, and She-Hulk, which is really cool to see some lesser-known heroes be included in that, like She-Hulk. I don't know much about her.
It's fun to just read her cards.
Yeah, she's green and mean and punches things very hard.
And smart, her alter ego.
That's true. I think she's a lawyer, right?
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
Spoilers.
And one of the cool things about this game, and Fantasy Flight is great at this, is expansions. And they had a stream a few weeks ago about a hero expansion that's coming to the game, and it's Miss Marvel, who is different than Captain Marvel. And I didn't realize that up until, well, the stream in a few weeks before that, because I had...
What video game? Was it the video
game?
Yeah,
I think there's a video game coming out with Avengers, and I was just super interested on who this new superhero was. I've read her comics since this announcement by Fantasy Flight, and even like the video game thing. And she seems like a really cool character.
So she's an expansion character coming.
Yeah, what they're going to do is they'll have hero packs released, which will have like a hero and the cards to go with it. They've announced Captain America is coming, Miss Marvel is coming, and then they have said Thor is coming, but they haven't like revealed anything about it. Just that, hey, we're making Thor, which is cool. Okay. I'm excited for Thor. Thor is one of my favorites. It's got the Norse heritage. Yeah, it's got that thing going on. So I'm looking forward to that. And then on the flip side of heroes, you have villains, which is who you play against in the game. Mm-hmm. They've announced a Green Goblin scenario pack, which is Spider-Man's bad guy.
Yes. I'm thinking James Franco, but no.
No, yeah, it was his dad in the old...
Oh, I am on the right track.
Yeah, in the Tobey Maguire Spider-Mans, which is really cool. And I'm planning that they will. Well, I'm not planning, but I'm hoping that they release many more, and I know they will. The game is like perfectly set up for that.
There's more to come for sure.
Oh, no doubt. I'm also really looking forward to any pre-release event that I find in the valley here in Arizona. They also had up on their website some really cool promo cards for these heroes in the core box.
Yeah, you sent me a picture a couple weeks ago about what are they alternate
art
for these. They look like comic books.
Yeah, the hero cards in the set, they have new versions of them. Stats are the same, whatever, but they look like mini comic books, and I thought that was
very cool.
Very clever, really cool idea, and a really neat way to add variety to your game.
Bravo.
Yeah, so if you're in the valley and you know of a store that has these cards, let me know.
Christian wants to pick up one or like all of them.
Yeah, all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's me. I am super excited, like I said, about that game. Angela, what about you? What's going on with you? What's up?
What is up? Well, what's up with me? Mine is not about a board game specifically, but it ties into a board game. Actually, one that I mentioned in the first episode.
Yeah, possibly your favorite game ever.
Yes, Mansions of Madness. I think maybe it should be my goal to just mention this board game every single podcast.
I think you should try.
Okay, well, we're on 2 for 2.
2 for 2.
Mansions of Madness is a board game I talked about last episode, but actually Fantasy Flight Games, who makes this board game, has partnered with an escape room out of Toronto. It's called Escape Games Canada, and they have made an escape room experience based on the Mansions of Madness board game. And you guys, Christian texted me just a link to it. I don't even think you explored the link much.
No, I just knew you'd like it, and I sent it out.
So I did. I looked at it, and I really liked it. I kind of got sucked down the hole of going onto their website, Escape Games Canada, and figuring out about this. So the scenario is called The Missing Will, which is not an exact scenario that you can do in the Mansions of Madness board game, but it's based on that whole world, the H.P. Lovecraft world.
Yeah.
And it sounds like it's not one room, but a series of rooms that you explore. You're going to go into this house and figure out by deducing some things where this dead person's will is.
Yeah. From what I saw, it looks really cool. It looks like an actual mansion. I'm sure it's not, but what they did with it, it made it look really, really cool. Like a real life version of this game.
The teaser video, I think is what you're referring to, was amazing.
Yeah.
Very exciting to see. I did find the information on the website vague, probably purposefully.
Oh, yeah. No spoilers there.
But it did say that it's not the traditional escape in an hour format. If you've ever done an escape room, you're probably familiar with this, even if you haven't done an escape room. You get 1 hour, and the result is, did you escape or did you not escape? And this Escape Games Canada in general has a few scenarios, not just this one, listed on their website that are scoring based. So they time you for 60 minutes, an hour, and then at the end you get your score. So it's not like did you escape or didn't you escape, it's just what was your score at the end of the hour.
Yeah, that's super cool. It's kind of taking the escape room to the next level.
It's an intriguing idea because I had never heard of that, although I'm not really an escape room pro. We've done one once.
Yeah, you and I did one with a bunch of friends, and we had a good time. One thing that just stood out to me was how many locks we had to encounter.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's all the game was. Solve a puzzle to get another lock. And I thought that was just kind of like lame. Like it wasn't as fun as I thought it could be. So like this campaign scenario style escape room seems really cool.
I would totally agree with everything you just said. And I would echo maybe saying if anyone just wants to fly us to Toronto,
that's right,
we would be happy to take you up on that. We will happily go to Escape Games Canada and play The Missing Will based on Mansions of Madness.
Let's do it. Angela, let's jump into the main section of this podcast.
Here we are.
We made it. This week we played a game called Abomination.
And here's where we get into the spooky Halloween flavor.
That's right. This game is a brand new game by Plaid Hat. It's super fun. It's a worker placement game. Angela, do you want to describe a little bit about what the game is?
I would love to. It is a competitive game, which is a little bit different than what we talked about in the last episode.
That's right.
It is for 2 to 4 players, and it takes place about 20 years after the setting of Mary Shelley's book Frankenstein. So I think we're at about 1820 is what the directions say in the board game. And you play a group of scientists who are working competitively to find the parts for and build in their laboratory a creature to bring to life.
That's right. You're kind of being like a new version of Dr. Frankenstein. You're building your own monster by collecting body parts around Paris.
Yes, it's in Paris. I forgot to mention that. And that is the basic overall gist of the game.
Yeah, it was super fun. We had a great time learning how to play this game. So let's just jump into it. One of the areas that we want to hit and talk about in our review or chat about this board game is the ease of setup and teardown. Now, we feel like it's important for us because we don't have a lot of time at times to play.
Right, kids go down for their bedtime, and we know we have blank number of hours, and we need to be able to fit setup and teardown into that, not just the play of the game. So setup and teardown has been known to deter us from certain games in the past.
I would say this is one of the most important ones for me as of lately, just because I don't want to spend 45 minutes setting up a game to then have it go possibly 3 hours on a new game like this one where we had to learn it all. And then all of a sudden it's like midnight and it's like, oh, well, we got to go to bed.
Right. This is an important factor for us. So with the first element being ease of setup and teardown, why don't you tell them what we thought of Abomination?
Yeah, this game out of the box was super difficult to set up. There was so many pieces, so many cards, so much cardboard, which I love to punch out.
You got to punch out lots of cardboard, guys.
Which was great.
Lots of it.
But at the same time, it was new, and it was just very confusing right off the bat.
There were a lot of pieces. They're quality pieces, but there were a lot of pieces. There's lots going on. So let's talk about the actual maybe board game situation. When someone looks and sets this on the table, they're looking at taking up a lot of play space.
Yeah, there's a lot of real estate taken up by the board itself where you're playing on. But then each player has their laboratory board, which is where you bring your monster to life. And those aren't small. They're like 8x8 little boxes.
Right.
They're pretty big.
The board itself is huge, and then Christian mentioned we each have a laboratory sheet, and then there's all these mini decks of cards, which Christian loves. Mini cards.
Those are one of the things I just can't stand about games. I understand why they're there. I would just prefer something bigger, easier to see, and easier to hold, honestly.
You're getting old when you don't like the mini cards.
That's true. But at the same time, it kind of goes with another problem that we realized for this game is with all these decks of cards, if they were regular size cards, there definitely wouldn't be room for them on the board.
True.
But even though these are mini cards, there's still no room for them on the board itself. They say to set it up next to the board, which then even increases your space and play area even that much further.
We usually play games on our casual kitchen table. This game, we tried to play it on the kitchen table.
We did play it once, and it was pretty crammed.
Tight.
Yep.
Until we figured out a secret, which we'll tell you in a minute. But we decided to move it to our formal dining room that seats a potential of 10 people.
That's right. And we sat on opposite ends of the table with candles between us.
With walkie-talkies so we didn't have to shout. No, but we did, and we took up half of that formal dining table.
Yeah, it took up a lot of space for just us two to play it.
So, that being said, the second time around, because we've played board games before, we have containers that we're not using in our board games. So we took some plastic containers, consolidated some pieces. We decided to take some of the mini cards that we referred to that the game tells us to set up outside the board. We just found a place for it inside the board where it wouldn't be in the way.
Yeah, each location in this game has a card area where you're supposed to display some cards. So in our minds, there's no reason why you just can't put the deck under some of the turned over cards. And so that's what we did, and that helped slightly.
We didn't change any rules or mess with the mechanics of the game. We just found a way, after learning how to play it and what you really needed where, we found a way to make it less cluttered. And for me, I'll speak for myself and you can say if you agree. If the play area is cluttered, my brain is cluttered and I don't play the game as well.
Yeah, that makes sense. The less you have to look at, the easier it's going to be. Does that make sense?
Correct.
So, yeah, the first couple times it was kind of chaotic to try to figure out all the pieces and parts and how it all fit together. But like Angela said, the more we played it, the easier it got. To now we're at a point where, we could set this up in a reasonable amount of time and
tear it down in a reasonable amount of time.
And get going playing pretty quickly.
So, element number 2.
Yeah, let's jump into number 2. We love playing board games with each other, obviously.
That's why we're here.
We're doing a podcast. But we also like to introduce people to the hobby that are our friends. That's what I'm trying to say. We like to play with our friends.
Absolutely. And I think that's one of the things you do well is you teach people, our friends, your friends at work, and how to play board games. And so a really big element for us is when we look at a board game is how accessible is this to play?
Right.
And we try to take a step back and remember that we've played a lot of board games at this point.
Sure.
And we need to remember that there are a lot of people out there on different stages of that board game journey. So we're trying to see this through the lens of a newer board gamer, and then maybe make some qualifying statements about if you're an experienced board gamer, how that would affect the accessibility of this game.
Yeah, exactly. Like one thing that's really fun is trying to bring people who aren't into board games into board games.
Yeah, come join us.
Yeah. And so like with a game like Abomination, this is a very hard game to learn. If this was your first dive into a modern board game, let's say, I would expect you to like probably not come back or be my friend anymore.
That's a correct assessment.
After I try to teach you this crazy game.
Let's put it this way. If when I say board game, you say Settlers of Catan, this is not a good board game for you.
Yeah, exactly.
You need to be with someone that can either teach you this game, or you need to have a few other bridge board games in there before you try to cross over into Abomination.
Yeah, definitely.
There's lots to keep track of. As we mentioned in the setup and teardown, there are lots of pieces.
Yeah, cardboard.
And the first night we sat down to play it, we knew it was already late. Okay, we had no illusion that it was probably already 9 p.m.
Yeah, we just wanted to play a new game.
We were so excited to play this. Just a little side note, can we explain our day of trying to find this game?
Yeah, really quickly, we had gone to a couple board game stores just for fun on that day, just to kind of spend the day, waste some time in the afternoon, shop around, and we weren't able to find it. We were spending time or wasting more time at Barnes & Noble just
for our kids.
Yeah, to get them a book for fall break or whatever was going on.
Yeah, we're trying to keep them occupied for something.
And I happened to find it in Barnes & Noble, which was awesome. I didn't think it was out yet, and I grabbed it.
He came around the corner into the kids section where I was with our daughter and son, and he held it up, and we kind of made that eye contact of, are you thinking what I'm thinking?
And we bought it, and we learned how to play it.
So, back to where we were, we had no idea what we were getting into. It was 9 p.m., and I think Christian said the words like, hey, let's set it up, let's read through the rules, let's play a couple rounds.
Yeah, I did say that.
And then, as we're reading the rules, we look at each other and go, how about let's just read the rules?
Yeah, I think we read the rules, we got all the parts out and figured out where everything goes, and then we were kind of done.
It was a pretty consuming thing to unpack. Not just the number of pieces, but the rules themselves. Now, with that being said, as we were walking through the rules, we were able to attach some concepts to previous games we had played, which started to make more sense in our heads.
Yeah, once we realized that it was a worker placement game, which means you have a little character, you put it on a space, and depending on what space you put that character on, you get a bonus. It could be money in your game, it could be an extra turn. In this game in particular, it's body parts, and
it could be money.
It could be money. It could be sciencey things like
expertise.
Yes, you could go tutor at the academy,
which I did love to do.
Yes,
love to tutor at the academy in Paris.
So once we realized that and how it kind of matched up with, Settlers of Catan kind of has an aspect of that. When you first start that game, you put your houses out so you can get the bonuses of the land. There's a game.
Yeah, I never thought of that. I was thinking of Godfather, which we have and we've played. I think last year we played it quite a bit. And once you said to me in the rules reading that, oh, Ange, that's like Godfather, then something clicked and the rules made a lot more sense.
Yeah, it's the Godfather Corleone's Empire, I think it's called. It's a super fun game where you're mobsters and you're doing the same kind of thing. You're putting people out, you're controlling areas. This is very similar, albeit a very different theme.
Which we'll get into.
Yeah, exactly. So, overall, accessibility to this game, it's got a very steep learning curve. We would definitely not recommend it for
a beginner.
Yeah, novice board gamers. But with that said, if you're looking for like a crazy challenge and a good challenge and your mind works that way, this one could be for you.
Or if you're just prepared to have your brain work a little bit. If you're a moderate to experienced board gamer, this will probably be no problem.
Exactly.
The third element that we would love to discuss, which I think is going to end up being my favorite every time, is how immersive is the experience? How much do you dive into the theme of this board game?
Yeah, and for those out there who may not know, what does that mean?
Usually a board game that we're talking about, these strategy board games or modern board gaming, they have a theme that they set up, a story that they're trying to tell. So you'll open the game and there'll be rules, but before the rules there's usually a prologue which jumps you into the story that you're going to be playing in, or the world you're going to be playing in.
Right, it's mostly
in this board game.
The world, it could be Star Wars themed, Lord of the Rings themed. In this case, it's monster/Frankenstein themed.
So, in my opinion, this board game is very immersive and goes above and beyond other board games that I have seen in this category.
Yeah, what was one of your favorite parts when we first opened the box?
Right. So when we first opened the box, I'm thinking of the letter. Yeah. So a letter flew out that is something that one of the characters in the book, Frankenstein, is writing to his sister. And you get to read the letter and kind of set yourself up for what world you're walking into and what time period you're walking into and the characters you're going to interact with and encounter, what they are like. So immediately that letter flew out. Then, as I mentioned earlier, there was a prologue that led into the directions and rules for the game.
That's right. It kind of sets up the whole experience for you.
Mm-hmm.
It was really cool.
So when we actually played, why don't you talk about the immersive experience of that?
Yeah, everything that you do is putting you closer to your goal, which is to build a monster. Now, to do that in this game, you have to acquire body parts. You have to get them from the hospital. You got to get them from the morgue. Maybe there's been a
hanging.
Yeah, an execution in this city in 1820s Paris, where you can just get body part. I mean, it sounds so terrible, but
guys, it's a little creepy.
That's what you're doing in this game. You know, you do creepy things in this game, and you're building a creepy monster, and it's everything about it is very like dark. Like the board game is dark and gray and dark blues.
Cards are dark.
Yeah. One of my favorite things to think about is the art in this game is very well done.
Very well done.
But it's also morbid. And I can't help but think of an artist who worked on this game, and he's just chatting with his friends saying like, "Oh, I'm doing art for this board game."
Oh, that's cool, man.
Yeah.
Like, what did you do?
I drew a bunch of dead people. It's just crazy. It's just a funny thought that popped into my head as we were opening this game, and you know, after playing this game a couple times. With that said, it really draws you into the experience, and it really adds that layer of immersiveness to the game.
And I'll add the encounter part of it.
Yeah, how does that work in this game, man? Should we want to explain that quickly?
Sure. So this game is played in rounds, and each round is comprised of a bunch of steps. So as the rounds progress, it might start off with an encounter. And these encounters are you interacting with, two different characters in the story. And I won't give away who it is.
Yeah, it's a little spoilery, so we don't want to say anything. But if you've read the book and know the story, you can probably figure out who it is. It's not a huge secret, but
these are characters from Mary Shelley's Frankenstein.
Right.
So you're encountering these characters, and I'm thinking of that one card. Do you remember?
Yeah, there was one card that had to do with a dog, and it was I think it was me. I was given the choice to. I was given two choices. I don't want to spoil it for those who get it. I was given two choices to do two different things, two choices, and neither of the choices seemed like a good idea.
Right. I think I looked at your eyes and I was like, "What did you just read? This is awful."
Yeah, it was. Some of those encounter cards are just kind of.
Oh, they give you the
icky.
Goosebumps. Like icky is a good word. Yes. So that's immersive. And you know what I really appreciated? I just thought of like everything was connected. Like these 6 scientists that you get to choose who to be.
Right, because you can choose out of 6 people.
Or you could randomize it, I guess. Are so immersive as well because of their character specials match who they are.
Yeah, they each have a cool little backstory, and the way you play them directly, is in line with their profession or their history. So
right,
you played a super interesting one. He was a psycho.
He was called the Psychopath. Yeah. I think the script under his name said the Psychopath. And his special made sense based on his character.
Right.
And then I don't really want to give that one away, and it wouldn't make much sense anyway if you haven't played the game. But one that maybe would make sense to describe is the first time we played, I was the character that was I feel like he was a lecturer or something.
Yeah, he was a former teacher or something like that.
Yes. Well, regardless of what his official title was, his special was that he started the game with more expertise than a normal character would, which makes sense because he's already
learned.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, all that to say, the characters' specials were so connected with who these characters are, and I'm going to say, I hope this doesn't seem like an exaggeration, it was beautiful, the thought that was put into this game.
That's a big word.
The thought was pretty beautiful, just seeing all these elements come together to suck you into this experience, Halloweeny, spooky experience of Frankenstein's world.
And I would say we play a moderate amount of board games, and I don't think I've seen you as excited about a board game in a long time since, I don't want to say it again, but Mansions of Madness.
You can go ahead and say that name again.
You just love that game, which is funny because that's a little bit like creepy and dark themed as well. This one is creepy and dark themed.
What are you saying about me?
I don't know. I think we'll see.
Only time will tell.
So, and I think that's a good transition because the fourth thing that we want to talk about when we talk about games is how fun was it? Did we have a good time playing it? We play games to have fun with each other and learn more about each other during that whole process. So, Ange, was this game fun?
Yes, ding ding ding. I thought this was super fun. And it's a good point to bring up that a game could be easy to set up and tear down. It could be immersive. It could be accessible to learn how to play it, but maybe it's just not fun.
True.
And I think this game is super, super fun. Although I will say, you get more fun out of it the more familiar you are with the rules. It increases your fun. And I should probably add that I have won every time we've played.
Yeah, that definitely helps a lot.
Why don't you talk about how fun you think it is?
Yeah, let's back up. I would say like the first couple times we played it, I would say like both of us didn't have tons of fun. It's a very in-your-head game. You try to figure out what's going on. And so once you do, then like Angela said, then the fun starts to happen. Now, I did lose this game a lot. And
wah, wah.
Twice. Two losses stick out in my mind because I lost by so many points in both of these games. I would say over 80 points, which is so many points. Like, I don't even know what to say right now because as I think about it, like 80 points, I don't even know where I could have made that up. That's like 7 turns of me just going, what's going on? And that literally is how I played one of those games. I remember I got out into such a huge lead in one of these games. I was like, I'm winning this game, finally. And then all of a sudden, either I wasn't going to the right places, the dice I was rolling weren't rolling in my favor, and I just stalled out, and Angela's little point counter just flew right past me. And then before I knew it, I had spent 2.5 hours playing this game to lose by 80 points, which to me is not fun. I will say that losing by a small margin is much easier to handle for me because then I can go back and look at it and say, well, I lost by 5 points. That's one turn or one wrong move. But 80 points? I don't even know where to break that down.
That's a interesting point that you bring up. Because as you were talking, I was thinking, I don't know if there is a difference for me. When I lose, regardless of if it's 8 points or 80 points. But for you, it's definitely different.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I don't mind losing by the small margin. That's fine. That's, you outplayed me, maybe barely. You had one or two turns that were better than mine or more efficient or whatever game it is. But again, with that much points that I lost by, I don't know.
You felt a little defeated.
Yeah, definitely. So I would say, I will back up and say, like, it is a fun game, but definitely the outcome has colored that, my opinion of that.
And I think that's fair. This is competitive, as we've mentioned, so there is going to be one winner and one loser. And we talked in our introductory episode a little bit about our past history with that. And we'll get into it a bit more in the next segment. But maybe we should say that the competitive nature of this game is we're not directly affecting each other's turns.
No, it's not.
We're just racing against each other. So we're not like, I'm not damaging Christian's character and he's not damaging mine.
No, it's not like a one-on-one card game like Star Wars Destiny or that Phoenix Born game. You're not head-to-head and knocking characters out. Like, there's nothing Angela could do to make my character go away. I just wasn't putting my characters in the right places.
Yes, that's probably a good way to describe it. So, you would say maybe a medium on the fun factor? Is that fair?
Currently, I'd say it's medium fun.
Okay.
I think I'm ready to start playing it again. We've played it a handful of times.
Guys, let it be known, at the time of recording, Christian is ready to play.
We've played it a handful of times, and I definitely needed a break from all those losses. So I'm coming up from that, and I hope to enjoy it when we play it again.
And last, but certainly not least, we wanted to leave you with the last element, which is it worth it? When we think about the cost versus how replayable is this game in getting a new experience every time, what do we rate the Abomination?
I would say, yeah, it's definitely worth it. There's a lot in this box. You have the event deck, which changes the path of each game you play.
Yep, that changes every time.
6 characters you can be, which change the way you play every time. And you have dice, which are always random. But then there's the whole immersiveness, which I think for Angela more than me, it's just drawing her back. She wants to go back into this world of monster creating.
Listen, everyone, I rented Frankenstein from the library after playing this game.
That's true. You did borrow the book.
I can't tell you how great this game was at just sucking me into that world and making me want to even read the book. So I think with all these elements that Christian mentioned that can change the gameplay, the character you play, the encounters and the events that happen, and even we look forward to playing it with just more than the two of us, which will change the play experience immensely.
Yeah, I think that's a number one problem for us with games. Mm-hmm. We always experience it with 2 people, and it would just be really fun, and it would probably change the whole experience to add a third, to add a fourth or fifth if the game allows it. Like, it's just it's a brand new experience with that many people. And now with this game, that might be harder to do with what we said earlier, but if someone's willing to jump in, let's do it.
Yeah, we would teach you. We wouldn't make you read the rule book. We would make it seem very fun and awesome. So is it worth it? Yes. Its cost is well worth it to, when you think about how replayable this game is. You could replay it over and over and over again, even if it were just Christian and I all the time, just 2 people. We could get a different experience out of it each time. And guys, it's Halloween themed. It's spooky. It is so immersive. I think the only thing we were missing was the music and the candlelight.
Yeah, the Halloween theme is great because even if you played this game twice a year in October, like that alone right there is probably worth it because it's been a long time since you played it and everything's kind of new again and you don't remember how to play it very well. And yeah, I think it's really cool.
Mm-hmm. So when we come back, we're going to talk about what we learned about each other and our marriage while playing this game.
One of the reasons for starting this podcast was for us to have an excuse to play games.
True.
and to talk to each other about games.
Yeah, I need to get Christian to say more than 2 words a week.
Yeah, and this definitely does that. and when we play games, we realize that we are, learning more about each other through that process, and we wanted to talk about that on the show. So this segment is about that.
Yeah, I think that a board game has a unique way of bringing the people around the table together or highlighting differences and
depending on the outcome
and pushing people apart. So we thought if maybe we paid attention to that a little bit more, we could share with you what we've learned about each other through playing each of these games. So as we sat and played Abomination through the times that we've played it, we have picked up on a few things, and I'll go ahead and start.
Yeah, go for it.
First thing that I'm going to bring up is kind of a funny, lighthearted one, but it brought up an interesting conversation. Christian mentioned in the main segment that I played one of the games as a character who was a psychopath. And the interesting conversation it brought up is that Christian said he would not want to play any character who was morally corrupt like that.
Yeah, that's right.
And I had never thought or heard about that before. So can you explain a little bit about your thought process?
Yeah, I think it goes back to even playing video games. When you're given a choice to do the good thing, to do the neutral thing, or the bad thing, I hardly ever choose the bad thing. It just doesn't seem like a fun outcome of the process. It doesn't excite me. Like I don't want to kill everybody in in video games. Like it just seems like the easy way out.
Oh, interesting. And I think that's fair. It brought up a fun conversation. I mean, I had no problem playing the psychopath character.
Yeah, one of the actions you took a lot was called the dark alley action, and basically what you do is you just wait for someone in a dark alley and then you take their body by murdering them.
I did a lot of murdering in that game, but listen, it got me a lot of fresh body parts for my laboratory.
That's true. You won by over 80 points, which, is terrible.
But how funny that at the end of the game, I said, wow, I think you'd experience a lot of success playing this character. And then you chimed in with what you just explained to our listeners, that you don't ever want to play a character that's morally corrupt. There is a difference, though. Like, he will play a neutral or good guy who messes with people during the game.
Yeah, one of my favorite things to do in board games is to kind of like set someone else up for failure. Like, because that's something that people usually just don't see coming.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like a game within a game, I guess, that I do sometimes. So, like, is that bad? Like, I don't know. Like, it's not... The
right.
actions I'm taking are not like kidnap somebody or leave someone to rot in a jail cell. Like,
no, but he'll take you, like, he'll interrupt you getting your money, or he'll try to bump you from a spot you want,
right.
Or kind of, I guess I think of it as like the annoying little brother tactic.
I'm really good at doing that.
This game doesn't allow for much of that because, as we mentioned before, we don't affect each other's play that much.
No, but there's other games that we play where I definitely do that quite a bit.
So that was an interesting conversation.
Yes.
And then we already explained how it's competitive. Christian already talked about how he lost pretty badly.
Terribly.
1 or 2 times, maybe? I don't remember.
I think you do. It was 2.
Okay, I think I do. The competitive spirit, it still remains. We have grown up, and Christian is definitely more graceful at losing than I am. So we are realizing this idea of giving each other space. I would want to play this game every day.
Yeah, that's true.
And if I said, Christian, I really need to play Abomination, or I don't know how I would phrase it. He would do it for me, but he wouldn't do it cheerfully. It wouldn't be a good experience because I don't know, your heart's a little raw right now.
Yeah, it wouldn't be like my first choice of games to play.
Which then begs the question, why do we do this in the first place? Are we doing it to... We're doing it to have a good play experience.
Right.
And to get to know each other better. So I think that me kind of forcing this idea of Abomination on him over and over and over again, I've learned this idea of space for him to get a chance to like it again.
Right. Yeah, definitely. I would agree with that. And I mentioned it earlier, like, I think I'm coming out of that. Mm-hmm. It's been probably a week since we've last played it. Mm-hmm. So I feel like, in the next few days, I'd be willing to give it a go again and see it and see what happens.
Right.
Yeah, and I think along those same lines, like, you and I have played a lot of Star Wars Destiny lately for some random reason. And one of the things that correct me if I'm wrong, when you lose, you kind of like to talk it out.
Yes, I do. It takes, sting away from the loss to be able to put words behind why did I lose, instead of just getting up from the table and trying to move on.
Yeah, so that's like a different version of the space that you mentioned that I need with a game after I lose, or I don't want to play for a while. It just needs to go away. Like, I don't want to play that game. But for you to be okay with the loss or whatever happened, you just need to
talk it out.
Yeah, verbally figure that out.
That's a good point. We have different ways of processing our losses, and those are both competitive games, Abomination and Star Wars Destiny.
Yeah, very different, but losing is losing, like you said.
And it's all part of life. And we don't get participation trophies every time. There's sometimes a winner and a loser.
Yep. Well, we had a really good time this week chatting about and playing Abomination.
It's been fun.
Yeah. We want to wrap up the show with some listener emails. We actually got an email from a listener from our first welcome episode.
Yay! Thank you so much, Emily. So I'm going to give the gist of what the question was. I think it was favorite cooperative board game.
Yeah, we asked everybody what their favorite co-op board game was.
I do think I said, if you want to be spicy, you can tell us your least favorite.
That's true. No one did that, though.
No one wants to be spicy. No. That's fine.
Pandemic.
It's a little bit aggressive for the first question. But Emily wrote in and said that she has been playing Battle at Hogwarts with her husband, and they've actually gone through the Monster expansion pack. This is one that we have not played, but we have seen. Actually, I remember seeing it multiple times at the Fantasy Flight game store in Minnesota when we've been back.
Yeah, it's always one that we look at because I think we're both drawn to games that we recognize. So if it's got that big label on it of Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, we will look at it.
It has
it's
a
drawn
theme.
To us. Yeah, it
has a theme we should definitely be drawn to, and we like the Harry Potter books and the Harry Potter movies, so...
Yeah, I think, Emily, we need to give this one a try.
Yes, it's motivated us to maybe give it a try.
So thank you for the suggestion.
And then, this wasn't a write-in, but among friends and family, we have gotten a few questions about, are we ever going to do family games? And I'll say never.
Justin Bieber.
That might come into play. We don't plan on having a lot of family board games in here.
I will say, if we do play family games and they're a little bit more advanced family games, we'll probably write about them on our website, which we already have one up there.
Ooh, that was a good plug.
Yeah.
So please check out our website. We do write about games that more frequently than we talk about them on the podcast. Right. So all these games that we play that don't make it onto the podcast, there is a place where we outlet our thoughts about that, and that is on our blog. So one of these games was a cooperative family game called Stuffed Fables. So you can check that out if you're wondering about a family game experience.
Yeah, super fun.
So what's our question for this week?
Yeah, I think for this week, to keep with the season, we want to know what is your favorite scary or spooky horror themed board game?
That's a great question. I'm excited to see what else is out there.
Yeah, I think we mentioned Mansions of Madness constantly in our two episodes.
If you want to write in and mention it again, that'll get you bonus points.
Yeah, so we know there's more out there, and we would just like to hear what your favorites are. And I think as a bonus question, it is Halloween.
True.
I love candy. You know this. Most of my friends know this. I want to know what your favorite Halloween candy is.
So write in with your favorite Halloween game and favorite Halloween candy.
Yeah, I think that's a good...
well, let's answer ours then.
Okay.
Is that putting you on the spot?
Oh, no, this is super easy for me.
Oh, he's been thinking about this for weeks.
Yeah, well, years, basically. My favorite Halloween candy is Butterfinger, and it's not one that I eat a lot of. But
I wouldn't have said that.
No, because when I think of Halloween and the candy I got at Halloween as a kid, I got a lot of Butterfingers, and that was like the only time I remember eating that candy bar. What's
the word? It's a little chalky. What's the, like gritty? Gritty.
I guess that's a word. It gets stuck in your teeth real good.
That's what gets me. But I would have said Snickers for you. Interesting.
Yeah, no. What about you?
Okay, well, here's the internal dilemma, Christian.
Okay.
I'm thinking of, am I going to be able to eat it while playing games?
Okay.
And what's the rule?
Yeah, can't have chocolate at the table.
Can't have chocolate at the table.
No.
So I think my favorite Halloween candy would probably be like a Snickers or a Twix or a Reese's peanut butter cup, but I can't eat that while playing. So it's got to be of the fruity variety or something. Maybe bottle caps?
Yeah, I would say that's probably yours. You like those.
I love bottle caps.
Yep.
Again, chalky, but I guess much better than Butterfinger.
We could probably do a whole nother podcast on just candy.
Okay, well then I'll stop us right there so we don't keep going on. Please write us in hello@marriedandbored.com, or you can visit our website.
We're on Instagram @marriedandbored. Answer our question, #marriedandbored. We'd love to hear from you.
And until next time.
See ya.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Married and Bored podcast. And guess what? We have a website. You can listen to podcast episodes and so much more at www.marriedandbored.com. You can also email us at hello@marriedandbored.com or follow us on Instagram @marriedandbored. Music in this episode is by Joseph McDade. See you next time.